This is the most ambitious Brickbuilt replica I've ever taken on. A life-size LEGO replica of the Spartan Laser straight from Halo Reach. I'm excited to show you all how I built all of that out of all of these.
I need a weapon.
Halo is a franchise that's been with me ever since I can remember. From my first time playing Combat Evolved as a teenager to my current playthroughs of Halo Infinite, I've been exploring the story of the Master Chief and other Spartans for years. I've also been obsessed with LEGO for a really, really long time. Now, I'll admit I wasn't always the best player, but there was just something captivating about the way the game felt. In fact, a majority of my oldest builds on this channel are my favorite weapons I used to use from Halo. It's kind of hard to believe that most of these builds were 10 years ago. Some of them still hold up, and others, well, not so much. So when I was deciding on what to build as my next big project, something Halo related was a no-brainer for me. Although it had been almost a decade since I last built, I knew that I wanted to go big. The Spartan Laser had been on my bucket list since the start of the channel, so I figured, why not give it a shot? After all, who doesn't love a giant shoulder-mounted space laser? The Spartan Laser's made several appearances in Halo games since Halo 3, but personally I liked the version from Halo Reach. After all, it was the cleanest looking design and one I felt I could build easily. And it wasn't in Halo Infinite. So the final build ended up being well over a couple thousand pieces, about 40 inches in length, and just around 20 pounds of pure LEGO brick. I wanted this Brickbuilt replica to be the ultimate tribute to everything I love about both Halo and building with LEGO. It was certainly a great opportunity to test my creative limits and definitely break through them, as this process was a great journey I had no idea I was getting into.
I think we're just getting started.
Every great build starts with a plan. And to be honest with you, I didn't have one. In the past, whenever I'd been building, I used to have 1 or 2 screenshots from the video game that I used to use as reference, but since then, technology's evolved a whole bunch. Now, I could actually pull 3D models directly from the game and import them into Blender, so I had a perfect representation of exactly what I was building. And this really ended up being a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it allowed me to better see the design from every angle and craft a better replica, but now my standards and expectations were near perfect. And to make things even harder on myself, I even purchased a physical 3D print of the Spartan Laser from Halo Reach to have on hand. This was one of the coolest things I've ever done for a LEGO build because it allowed me to directly match up all the pieces I was building to the proportions of the weapon. Again, perfectionism kicked in. Now I know, I'm not as tall as the Master Chief, so I did have to scale the build down just a little bit to fit my proportions. Funny enough, I actually found that a 1 to 1.17 ratio worked the best for me, and this matches Master Chief's designation number too. Now, I've certainly collected a lot of LEGO pieces over the years, including a lot of purple tiles. Please don't ask about that one. But even my collection has its limits. So I found out whenever I was running out of tiles, Bricklink came in handy as the marketplace I turned to find several of my missing pieces or to resupply when I ran out, which happened a lot. About halfway through the planning phase, I was struck with a bit of creative inspiration that would actually define the rest of the project. The Spartan Laser features a video screen that you can see in the first-person view, and in typical me fashion, I wasn't just going to build this screen, I was going to make it a real screen. So with a decision that, as you'll learn, future me definitely regret, I purchased a Raspberry Pi and an LCD screen to go along with this build. Now that's enough monologuing about all the planning, let's get into why you're really here watching this video. How I actually built this Spartan Laser.
Here lies the path. Star of our great journey.
Now this part is where it got a bit messy. To say I was rusty at building was definitely an understatement. I mean, since the last video I posted, I've gone through not just high school, but also college and a master's degree. I've moved twice, had several different jobs, including, yes, at Legoland. So yeah, a lot's changed. So I figured the best way to structure this section of the video is why not just take you through step by step what I went through building this Spartan Laser since December. Naturally, I started with one of the hardest parts first, which was actually the font on the side. I knew that I wanted to include that signature Galilean text that you see on the side of the Spartan Laser, and it was going to be a bit of a challenge to build out of LEGO. Through a complicated internal design and some new LEGO brackets, I was able to create a design that was small enough to both fit the profile and still be possible to read clearly. With that challenge done, I knew next I wanted to experiment with some lighting and wiring that would go inside the structure. So I decided next to design this panel that you see on the side and place some brick stuff light bars underneath it to shine through all of those transparent red pieces. I went through a couple iterations of how I wanted to do the triangle design at the very back and ended up settling on this rounded corner tile piece so that the Pico light could shine through it. Now normally when I build, I just kind of choose a cosmetic piece that I'm most interested in and then work inside from there. This time, I knew I had to start with some serious structure because this was going to be a big project. So instead, I opted for a 1-stud wide frame with studs facing out on the inside so I could build sideways across the entire structure. The reason for this is LEGO is actually strongest when it's placed on its side, so I knew I wouldn't have pieces breaking as I picked it up. And yes, that means there's no glue used at all in this project. I'll speed through this next part a little bit to spare you all, but one thing that's important to note here is angles, angles, angles. A majority of the clean line work that you see on this finished Spartan Laser doesn't really go appreciated because of all of the internal structure underneath to make those angles perfect. There's a lot of LEGO math I had to learn and do on the inside just to make all of these 45-degree angles line up, and a lot of really complicated slope work to get some of those double angles as well. With that, the back half of the Spartan Laser was pretty much complete in just under a month of building. I was on a roll, but of course I had to make a decision that would stop that progress entirely. I wanted to get into the video screen. Now there might be some geniuses watching this video, but I do want to let you all know, I have zero experience with coding and knew nothing going into this. All I knew is that I had done a screen capture in Halo Reach of the exact Spartan Laser screen and just wanted this to loop on that LCD that I'd purchased. I figured it would just be a drag and drop to get the video going, but man was I wrong. When I first installed that Raspberry Pi operating system, I knew from there it wasn't going to be that simple. I tried checking around a few help forums, but it all seemed like it was in languages I didn't understand. So I created some custom code on this for around a month, testing the screen, failing, again and again, until finally, I gave up. After all, this was supposed to be a LEGO building project, not a code challenge, so I shelved that for a little bit and went back to building. I got all the internal wiring done for the rest of the lights, and even put springs behind the trigger so that it would reset. This was the combination of every function I could try to include in this build. I think the front half of the build actually has some of the techniques that I'm the most proud of in this creation. Especially the Gungnir emblem on the side, I think it's a huge standout. This was a complicated assembly of some unique slope parts mixed with angled tiles that created the perfect look for this emblem. Some LEGO stickers on the side even completed the rest of the look with the other details and graphics. The angles on the framing of the laser were also deceptively tricky. The upper casing above the barrel stumped me for a little bit because it ended up being a double angle that was tough to create, but I'm proud of this look. There was a lot of math going back and forwards till I came up with this final assembly that cleaned the look really nicely. You probably wouldn't have even noticed had I not peeled back some of the internals here. There was a little bit more lettering work here to create the UNSC text on both sides and some wedge plates added to make this pop out a bit. To finish up the design, the barrel was pretty simple, but even used one technique pulled directly from an existing LEGO set. I liked the flower pot used for the succulent, so used that technique to create this angle. So with the Spartan Laser build pretty much finished at this point, it was time for me to go back to my final boss and finish that video screen. Just a couple more days of screaming at the computer, coding and testing until finally, I got it to work. This was the last piece of the puzzle, and after 2 months and thousands of LEGO pieces, the Spartan Laser was finally a brick-built replica.
Just dust and echoes. We're all that's left.
This build is my favorite I've ever completed. It's not every day I get to create a 20-pound copy of my favorite Halo gun out of LEGO bricks. And the things I learned about engineering, geometry, coding, and aesthetics through the process made me extremely proud of what I've created. I've got a renewed excitement for building my favorite game in replicas again, so I promise there's more to come. Expect to see a few more completed Halo builds because this suit is just too fun to not keep wearing. It was also great to share my love for Halo and LEGO with the community. I've recently been to LEGO fan expositions like Brick Fair Virginia and Brickworld Chicago to debut this creation and see the impact that Halo has on the lives of others. So, if you enjoyed the journey, let me know. Hit that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe if you haven't already. I promise there's a lot more to come. It feels great to say this again. Keep on building, and I'll see you all next time with my next Brickbuilt replica.